So I bought this Cannondale R300 road bike from my friend for 125 bucks. And it was a complete road bike. It was in nice shape, just a little bit grimy and dirty, but other than that, nice complete road bike. And I figured people love Cannondales. It's clean, it's ready to go. I'll flip it for $250 within a week. And then I realized, had the drop bars with the brake lever shifters and they were all gummed up and I couldn't get them de-gummed. Sprayed stuff in them, whatever. Nobody is gonna pay 250 bucks for a Cannondale that doesn't shift, at least not around here. So I decided to take the shifter apart. That didn't work out too well. So my only option was to turn this thing into a single speed. And you know what? That's good, because I'm not really into multi-speed bikes. So I ordered some parts, and including the 125 that I paid for the bike, I'm into it for about 200 bucks, which is way more than I want to be into any bike. So I ordered the parts, they came in a box, I looked at the parts, and then I didn't do anything for 2 years. Why? I don't know. I'm a serial ass dragger, who knows? But for 2 years, this bike just sat there, waiting for me to fix it, waiting for me to build it up. Finally, I've been trying to go through my pile of forgotten projects. So I built this thing up maybe a month ago, and it literally took me, you know, a couple hours to do it. So I guess maybe the title of the video is misleading. It didn't really take me 2 years to build the thing. It just took me 2 years to get around to building the thing. So let's start with the bike itself. Made in USA, Cannondale. I think the R300 is not like super high end, but it's still nice. It's aluminum. It is handmade in USA. Got a nice sleek little clamp here, clever cable routing. I don't know if the seat is original, but it's nice and comfortable. And let's see. Can't quite make out the cranks, but that's what was on it. The wheels were on it. It's got these Shimano hubs and Mavic CXP10 rims. There's my shadow. Let me see if I can get a better shot here. The brakes are these Shimano RSX, which are, I think they call these dual pivot brakes, because they have a pivot here and a pivot here. Anyway, those are good brakes. So what I did was I ordered some parts. Owry grips, because all the bike couriers used to use those. I don't like them that much. They're kind of sticky and goofy, but whatever. The only brake levers I could find that would work with these handlebars, these are the stock handlebars, I just cut them down. These are heat-treated Nitto handlebars. I couldn't find any handlebars in my stash that would fit this stem, so I figured I'll just cut the bars down, and it worked out perfectly. The curve is just right. So I got these Tektro, I guess they're called RL726. And these are interesting because the way they work, now normally a brake lever pulls the inner cable through the housing, but this actually kind of pushes the housing. Let me see if I get out of the... It's like the cable stays fixed and the housing gets pushed. But they work. Now these brake pads are kind of old. They make a lot of noise, but whatever. I got some of these Kenda Pro tires. They look pretty good, and I wanted a gum wall tire. I did not want a black wall tire, and these were inexpensive, maybe 12 bucks a piece. Then Odyssey twisted platform pedals. These are great. They're inexpensive, they're lightweight, they're durable. These are BMX pedals, but they work great in this application. Now, in order to convert this, I used the stock sprocket, which is, I guess it's a 46. And I had to get some shorter chainring bolts. So, because the stock configuration has a sprocket here, and then this, and then a sprocket here. And so the chainring bolts that come with the bike are really long, so I had to get the shorter chainring bolts. And I took this chainring and I put it on the back side of the crank, so I could get a better chain line. You know, otherwise the chain line's gonna be way out. And then I ordered this, it's basically a single speed kit that I got, God, I don't remember where I got this. I had to look around for it quite a bit. They didn't have it anywhere except some weird outdoorsy website. But it comes with the chain tensioner and a couple of sprockets, a couple of cogs, and a bunch of spacers for the cassette. And I went with one of the original cogs and ended up with 46-14 gearing, which was way too tough, way too steep. So I switched it to one of the cogs that came in the kit. So now we're at 46-16, and it's a little slow off the line, but once you get going, it's really great. Now this bike, it's a little bit small for me, but it's still reasonably comfortable. You know, it's super, super lightweight. Like, I don't know how much it weighs, but probably in the 20-pound range. And it's nimble, it's fast. And I think that, not to pat myself on the back, but I think that I built it correctly. It doesn't have anything that jumps out about it that looks really stupid. You know, unless you just don't like these bars, for example. But some people build single speed bikes and they just end up looking dumb. You know, you take some old Hawthorne or something and you put deep V fluorescent colored wheels on it, it's gonna look ridiculous. So my goal with this bike is to make it as simple as possible, and I did keep both the brakes on just because they were already there, so why not? I had to get, I used the stock tubes. I think I had to get new brake cables. But I probably could have used the stock cables because they use the same type of cable, but I just went with new cables. I used the chain that was on it. I'm gonna recommend to whoever buys this that they get a new chain because it's kind of grimy. The only thing that looks a little weird about this is the crank, because obviously it's designed for 2 sprockets and this sprocket's on the backside now, so that looks a little weird. Like, this kind of bulges out a little bit. So that's not as sleek as it should be, but this, I like the color, you know, it fits in, it doesn't really look stupid. Unless you're one of those people who thinks that converting a road bike to a single speed is stupid, in which case you might be right, but this is, you know, I could have basically broken even on the bike, or I could build it into something that I enjoyed. And now comes the hard part, because I got like $200 sunk into this thing, and 2 hours of labor, and 2 years of storage. So will I find a buyer who's gonna buy this thing at a high enough price for me to turn a profit? You know, I'd have to sell it for like $325, and I just don't think the market around here will bear that. But I'm hoping that some kid will come up on the train from New York City or something, because it is a really cool bike. It's light, it's fast, it's built correctly, it has a nice aesthetic to it. You know, the frame's got like this bright red and yellow, so the frame looks like it's on fire, but all the rest of the parts are pretty subdued, you know, black and silver, so it's not like, you know, some people would take a bike like this, put red tires on it or red pedals, and that just pushes it a little too far. So you have this crazy looking frame and fork, but then the rest of the bike gives it a little bit of balance. So hopefully for me, the right buyer will come along who can appreciate this type of build, and otherwise I'm going to be sitting on this thing till doomsday, because I certainly don't want to take a loss on it. But it was really, really fun and satisfying to build. You know, it's very rare for me to actually go buy parts. So normally I'm just trying to cobble something together with what I have in the parts bin. But this time I decided to just go ahead and buy everything I needed, and it made it so much easier. You know, instead of trying to scrounge around for tires and patch up tubes and, you know, find old cables and this and that, it was so much easier to just buy everything I needed and build it the way I wanted to build it. So that is your Cannondale R300 single speed. Check it out, just one road bike that I really like, and hopefully somebody else will really like it too, and hopefully you liked it. and maybe you learned a little something about building a single speed, because it's pretty satisfying. It takes probably took 2 pounds, 3 pounds of weight off this bike with the derailleurs and sprockets and stuff. So it makes it a little bit lighter, quicker, and you know, if you get sick of this gearing, you can always change the gearing. You can put on a different sprocket here, you can put on a different cog here. The kit comes with a couple of cogs, and then when you take your cassette apart in the first place, that gives you like 8 or 9 cogs that you can use at some point in the future. So you can go with pretty much any gear ratio you want. You just might have to get a new chain, add links or subtract links, because you don't want this thing to be all the way down here. You want it to be as close as possible. So it's a lightweight, quick, nimble, versatile bike, and I'm pretty sure somebody's going to appreciate it the way I do, and somebody's going to pay up. So there you go. Cannondale R300 single speed road bike here, as usual, in the city of Newburgh, New York.